p.m. Pacific. And we have heard from Roach and Tank back in December, as both men are certainly preparing for what should be a entertaining main event in Brooklyn from the Barclays Center. We always know Tank fights are tremendous events, broke records last time he was in Brooklyn against Rolly Romero. So it is sure to be a jam-packed crowd for this event. But now it's time to hear from some of the fighters that will be fighting on the loaded pay-per-view undercard. In the co-main event, WBA super lightweight world champion Jose Valenzuela will take on the hard-hitting top contender Gary Antuanne Russell. Then we will have WBC super lightweight world champion Alberto Puello as he takes on top-rated mandatory challenger Sandor Martin from Spain. And then, of course, kicking off the pay-per-view, we will open things up with unbeaten rising contender Yoenis Tellez as he takes on the former unified world champion Julian J-Rock Williams for the interim WBA Super Welterweight World title. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. This event, of course, is promoted by GTD Promotions and TGB Promotions, sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Trust me, you will not want to miss this event. And we'll kick things off with our first fighter, as this man needs no introduction. He has a storied career, a resume with 29 victories, 17 by knockout, opposite of 4 defeats and 1 draw. Proudly represents Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I know he's going to be repping the Philadelphia Eagles coming up this Sunday, as they got a big game coming up. And he is the former unified 154-pound world champion. He dropped a recently super competitive a fight against the WBC middleweight world champion Carlos Adames back in 2023. And he most recently stopped Gustavo David Vittori in 2 rounds back in January of 2024. This man, I've never seen him in a boring fight, and I can attest to this. I'm sure coming March 1st, it will be more of the same, as it is going to be an action-packed fight against Yoenis Tellez. Please welcome Julian J-Rock Williams.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
All right, J-Rock, you just want to open things up. What are the thoughts? I know you're in the middle of camp right now, getting ready for March 1st. What are you most looking forward to on March 1?
I'm most looking forward to the event, the atmosphere. That's something that I kind of miss, being like off and kind of like away from like big time boxing. So I'm more so looking to the event and to the atmosphere and getting in the ring and getting my hand raised.
Now, J-Rock, you are used to being in big fights. You have fought some of the top contenders, world champions throughout your career. A lot has been said about Yoenis Tellez, undefeated, a young contender coming up. What would you assess? Would you believe your experience is going to be a huge factor taking on a young dominant contender in Tellez, who maybe has not been in those deeper waters like you have?
I'm not dependent on experience. I'm dependent on skill set. I'm dependent on skill set and being the best Julian J. Rock Williams that I can be. I think sometimes experience can be a little bit overrated. I think I'm focused on skill set and being prepared, being the best me.
Now, what is it about your mentality, J Rock? I've known you for a while, and when you fought, the fight was announced to fight Carlos Adames. You know, people were like, he's the boogeyman. No one wants to fight him, and you were like, let's bring him on. And in that fight, you were having success. You were frustrating him, and I was there. Obviously, on your record, it goes down as a 9th-round TKO, but it was a very controversial stoppage that many felt that it should not have been stopped. I can attest to your trainer, Breadman Edwards, who was livid with that stoppage because you were really starting to have success in the later rounds. What is it about you wanting to take on, fighters that maybe no one else wants to fight?
I want to be great, and I think when there's a gun in the room, you don't run away from the gun. You run towards the gun, and you can't be great if you ducking action. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm here.
Well, you're certainly not ducking action, as I see we are joined now by your opponent, Yoenis Tellez. And we'll get to you in a bit, J Rock. I want to bring on Yoenis. Yoenis, you're undefeated, 9-0, 7 by knockout. You probably represent Cuba, and now you're training in Texas with your acclaimed trainer, Ronnie Shields. You most recently are coming off a dominant victory against Johan Gonzalez back in October on Prime Video and PBC. Just want to open things up. How much are you looking forward to March 1st against a former world champion in J-Rock?
Bueno, Yoenis, ¿cómo estás? Mira, estamos hablando acá de tu pelea contra Gervonta Williams. ¿Cómo te sentís de cara a esta pelea siendo un cubano orgulloso, entrenándote con un entrenador de renombre en Texas? Contanos cómo va tu campamento de entrenamiento y cómo te sentís de cara a esta pelea.
Mi campamento va súper bien, enfocado en la oportunidad que se me dio y nada, esta oportunidad es una oportunidad que no se puede desaprovechar, ya que es por todo lo que he tratado de luchar y nada, bien contento con la oportunidad y el día 1 de marzo vamos a salir a hacer el trabajo.
Mantén tu cámara estable, por favor, así no se puede. Ahí está, perfecto. So, yeah, my training camp has been outstanding so far. I'm well aware of what this opportunity means to me, and that's why I'm getting ready to take advantage of it and make the most of it, because it's the opportunity of a lifetime and something that I really want to be able to take advantage of on March 1st.
Now, Yoenis, it seems like, with every fight, you are getting better and better. What is it about, your relationship with Ronnie Shields and evaluating every fight, and you're able to elevate your performance every time out?
Contanos sobre tu relación con Ronnie Shields y lo que les permite complementarse tan bien que es notable que tu nivel se va incrementando y mejorando en cada pelea que tenés.
Ya, primero que todo la confianza que tenemos entrenador, la atleta. Yo creo que es lo principal y la conexión, la alegría que fluye en el gimnasio y siempre tratamos de las situaciones que hay o las dificultades que hay en las peleas o en los entrenamientos, tratar de solucionarlas de la mejor forma.
It comes down to trust. We trust each other fully, and that translates also to the gym and the atmosphere that we have in the gym, which is one of happiness and joy. And as far as to your question about adjustments, it's really about tackling each challenge as it comes. If we see that we need to correct something or that we need to be able to overcome something new that came our way, then we work together to come up with a solution for that problem.
Yoenis, you are fighting a former world champion in J-Rock, and we had a chance to speak with him for a bit before you joined us. And he's, got a lot of accolades. He's got a lot of respect in the sport. When this name came across, your team's desk, and it was given to you, a proposal to fight J-Rock, why was J-Rock the right opponent for you for March 1st?
Cuando te dijeron, mira, Yoenis, ¿consideras a Gervonta Williams como rival? ¿Qué se te cruzó por la cabeza? ¿Por qué decidiste aceptarlo a él como oponente?
Nada, yo vine aquí a hacer mi carrera deportiva, ya sea él, sea cualquiera, yo vine a hacer mi trabajo y primero que todo vi la oportunidad y el oponente, nada, si arriba del ring no solucionamos los problemas, ¿me entiendes? Solo arriba del ring se solucionan los problemas. Yo nunca pensé que lo vi como un oponente de agresividad ni nada, sino que yo vi la oportunidad y ya sea con él o con cualquier otro, yo hubiese aceptado si hubiese sido algo bueno para mi carrera.
I really didn't focus on the name of a specific opponent. I mean, Gervonta Williams is a quality opponent, someone that we're gonna put up a great fight with. But in the end, it's all about seeking out the opportunities. It doesn't matter who is in front of me as long as I get to take advantage of the opportunity. So when they told me Williams is in front of you, okay, that's gonna be the next challenge. Let's go ahead and do it, because in the end, it's about me, the job that I have to do, and in the ring, you can solve absolutely any problem that comes your way.
J-Rock, I'll go back to you. He said, you just popped up and I was ready to go. For you, looking at him and studying Tellez, who is, a young fighter, undefeated, what challenges do you think that maybe you can present to him that maybe he has not seen so early in his career?
I don't know. I think we're gonna figure it out on March 1st. I think he's a good young fighter, but we don't really know too much about him. I don't do too much tape studying. I let my team do that, and then we just go to work on the gym, go to work inside the gym on the game plan, and we have that down, and we're working it right now. And we fine tuning some things, and we're gonna show up March 1st ready to win.
All right. And Tellez, I got to get it from both of you guys. Prediction March 1st. It's going to go down. You're going to be opening the pay-per-view at Barclays Center. Tellez, this is a tremendous opportunity. The interim WBA 154-pound title is on the line. You've waited your whole life for an opportunity like this. How does it play out?
Bueno, Yoenis, has esperado toda tu vida por una pelea como esta, con el título interino en juego. Contanos tu predicción, ¿cómo termina esta pelea?
Nada, siempre lo que yo digo, yo no salgo a buscarle un knockout, siempre salgo a buscar ganar y siempre voy a ganar, siempre voy a salir victorioso, siempre que tenga la oportunidad de demostrar de qué estoy hecho y nada, el 1 de marzo vamos a romper bien duro abriendo el pay-per-view de esa gran cartelera.
Entonces no te importa si es por nocaut o por puntos, simplemente decís que vas a ganar.
Sí, no, exactamente. Si es por knockout va a salir, nunca lo salgo a buscar, pero sí yo sé que voy a salir ganador y siempre voy a salir con la mano arriba ese día.
I don't come out looking for the knockout. That's something that I always say. Whether I win after the final bell or by knockout, then all that matters is having a W, ending up with my hand raised. If the knockout comes, welcome. If not, I'll be more than happy to come up with the W in any way, shape, or form.
And for you, J-Rock, March 1st, this is a huge opportunity. You're a former world champion. A win like this would put you back in line where you want to be. How does March 1st go down?
With my hands raised at the end. However, I gotta get it. Whether if I got a box off my back foot, whether I got to step forward, whether I got a brawl, whether I got a box, I'm gonna get it. However, I gotta get it. But we got a solid game plan.
All right, you heard from both men. Now let's. I know there's plenty of media members joining us here for this call. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand virtually, and Andrew or Sam will be able to step in and unmute you.
Thanks very much, Miguel. Our first media question is going to come from James Bell with the Boxing Source. James, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
All right, thanks, Andrew. One question for each. First, for Julian, given that this is for the interim WBA title here at 154 pounds, kind of assess like how you're approaching this particular fight as far as like your steps to become, once again, like unified champion, and then eventually get you the chance to become undisputed at 154 pounds.
Well, I'm just taking it one step at a time. I'm putting in the work in the gym and on that track and in the weight room. Excuse me. And I'm just taking it one step at a time, basically listening to my coaches, working the game plan and just sticking with it.
Gotcha. And my question for Yoenis Tellez, you mentioned that you work with Coach Ronnie Shields there in Texas, and over there at the camp, there's a number of fighters around your weight class there at 154. Talk about having that amount or those amount of fighters there within your weight class to prepare you for these fights at 154.
Yoenis, contanos cómo es la experiencia de haber tenido a tantos colegas, a tantos boxeadores que están alrededor de tu peso y que podían ser potenciales sparrings durante tu entrenamiento para esta pelea junto a Ronnie Shields.
Nada, bien contento con eso, ya que esa gente que están ahí a mi alrededor pueden ayudarme a enfrentarme a esta pelea y nada, yo estoy bien contento con todo lo que pasa en mi gimnasio. Mi gimnasio es la cúpide de yo poder haber llegado aquí a este gran paso que estoy dando hoy.
I'm very happy with, like you said, all the other fighters that are out there and that they're able to help me. And I consider this gym and my training sessions with Ronnie Shields as the peak of my boxing career. It represents me reaching the pinnacle of what I wanted to do in boxing.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much for those questions, James. Our next question is going to come from Jim Conlon with RCB Radio Sport in Ireland. Jim, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Hi guys, just one question for both fighters. If I can start off with you, J-Rock, you mentioned about honing your skills and you think skills is going to be the most important aspect for the fight. How is the preparation for camp going, given that you've been over a year now since you've been in the ring in terms of ring sharpness, in terms of that?
Oh, camp is going good. See, the thing is I haven't had an actual fight in almost a year, but I'm always in the gym. I'm never outside of the gym. And I'm always boxing. I'm always working. I'm always working on getting better. And I'm always working on building my condition in between the lapses, just the way boxing is these days, where most top fighters only fight once, twice a year. And unfortunately, I fell into that same trap. So you got to do extra things on the while you're on the break. You got to do extra things sharp, and that's what I did. And waiting for that big call, and I got it, and I'm ready.
Yeah, and my question then for Yoenis. Yoenis, many people look at your record and say you're an up-and-coming fighter, that you haven't many fights on your resume. But then again, you have taken down Sergio Garcia, who had 35 wins, a big name, big reputation as well in the past. That didn't daunt you, that didn't faze you. Is it the same mindset in terms of J-Rock as well?
La gente de Yoenis podría llegar a ver tu marca, tu carrera, y decir, todavía es una promesa. A la misma vez, también noqueaste a Sergio García, un veterano de 1000 batallas. ¿Sentís que esta pelea va a ser tu trampolín para dejar de ser promesa y ser realidad?
Sí, claro, 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 claro. Esta pelea yo creo que es la que me va a poner en un punto donde yo creo que todos los peleadores tengan que respetarme porque todavía hay muchas, me tienen como una promesa todavía, ¿sí me entiende? Como algo que yo todavía no lo soy. Yo creo que esta es la oportunidad para poderle demostrar y a toda la gente en mi división que yo sí soy parte de la cúpide.
Thank you, guys.
Can I help you?
Yeah, so basically, this fight is gonna allow me to earn the respect of everyone that sees me as an up-and-comer, to establish myself within the division, and for the division itself to realize that I'm here
Route
to
guidance
stay.
is not active. Please enter a new destination.
That's good to know that we basically fight for the same thing. So it should be a good fight. I'm excited.
Excellent. Thank y'all for that. Thank you for those questions. Our next question is going to come from Jameel Parker with YSM. Jameel, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
All right, I have one question for each fighter. First one's for J-Rock. J-Rock, you fought the best when they were at their best. Do you feel like there's anything more that you have to prove in boxing?
To myself, yeah. I'm not really concerned on proving things to other people. I'm trying to prove things to myself and accomplish the goals that I set out to accomplish. What other people's opinions really don't matter.
Yoenis, J-Rock, former unified champion. What does he bring to the table that could make this a difficult fight?
Te vas a enfrentar a un ex campeón unificado como Williams. ¿Qué es lo que él ofrece que te hace pensar, uy, esta va a ser una pelea difícil?
Me imagino que él tenga todas las ganas de volver a estar donde él estaba, si me entiende, ya él pasó por esto, pero yo vengo de no tener nada, quererlo tener todo. Yo me imagino que tiene mucho que ofrecer, ya que él pierde tanto como yo.
Look, J-Rock has everything to gain, everything to lose, just like I do. But my motivation doesn't reside in what he can do to make the fight difficult for me. My motivation is to get to where he used to be, to have those titles, and I have to beat him in order to do so.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much for those questions for our first pair of fighters here, and thank you both, Julian and Yoenis, for joining us. With that, I'll turn it back over to Miguel to get closing comments from our first pair here.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate it. Thank you, J-Rock. Thank you, Yoenis. As you know, you guys are getting set in the middle of camp. as we head towards March 1st. Big time boxing back in Brooklyn. And what a fight to kick off the pay-per-view on March 1st between Tellez and J-Rock. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you fight week as we gear up to March 1st in Brooklyn.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Muchas gracias,
Awesome.
Yoenis, por todo.
Yeah.
Te agradecemos mucho.
Sure. Thank you.
Yoenis Tellez, Julian J-Rock Williams kicking things off for our virtual presser. And now we are going to bring in our next pair of fighters as we get you set. The WBC Super Lightweight World Championship on the line. The champion, Alberto Puello, will be taking on the top-rated mandatory challenger, Sandor Martin. And that will be our next bout on the loaded March 1st pay-per-view card on Prime Video. Once again, it will be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Again, this fight, Puello and Martin, is promoted in association with Top Rank and OPI since '82. First, let's hear from the challenger, the man, the native out of Barcelona, Spain, 42-3 with 15 wins by knockouts. He sprung the 2021 upset of the year, defeating the 4-division world champion Mikey Garcia, and he dropped a controversial decision to Teofimo Lopez, who, many believe that he should have won that fight. And now he was most recently coming off back-to-back knockout victories as well. He's excited for another chance to fight for a world title. Please welcome Sandor Martin. Sandor, thank you for joining us.
Hi guys, nice to stay here. It's a pleasure return to fight in New York. I'm so excited for this opportunity.
All right, thank you, Sandor. And now we'll turn things over to your opponent, the undefeated champion, 23-0, 10 wins by knockout. He is the reigning WBC Super Lightweight World Champion, originally from San Juan de la Maguana, Dominican Republic, now training in Las Vegas. He has become a two-time 140-pound world champion, and he won the title recently with a decision victory over Gary Antuanne Russell last June. As we welcome Alberto Puello.
Alberto, bienvenido. ¿Cómo estás? Contar a la gente tus sensaciones de cara a esta pelea.
¿Qué tal? Estoy bien, gracias a Dios, preparándome para esta nueva oportunidad y defender lo que tanto me ha costado tener nuevamente.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining. I appreciate you guys, and I'm eager, I'm ready, because I know that this is going to be an opportunity for me to defend the title that I've worked so hard to obtain.
Let's talk about that, Alberto. You coming off to arguably your biggest win of your career when you defeated Gary Antuanne Russell last June, who is also on this card in our co-main event, and we'll speak to a little bit later. What did that victory mean to you to finally become a world champion, and a world champion in what many believe is one of boxing's deepest divisions?
¿Qué significó para vos tu victoria contra Russell? Y no solo para ser campeón, sino también para establecerte en una de las divisiones más difíciles del boxeo en la actualidad.
Bueno, se significó mucho para mí en mi carrera, ya que venía de pasar un mal momento. Esta noche significó mucho, ya que también le di a demostrar al público y a todos los fanáticos que yo era un boxeador limpio y que podía pelear con cualquiera sin hacer trampa.
It meant a hell of a lot for me, because I was going through some rough times before that fight, and it allowed me to prove to everyone, especially to the fans, that I was able to win, to become a champion, being clean, that there was nothing else that I needed in order to be successful.
And now, Sandor, this is a huge opportunity to face a fighter that's been undefeated. He is been a tough opponent for everybody he's faced. However, you, throughout your career, have proven to be equally as tough, defeating a 4-division world champion in Mikey Garcia, taking Teofimo Lopez, who many believe is one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in boxing, to the limit. And, some feel you won that fight in that controversial defeat. What is it about your style that proves to be so difficult for other fighters?
I think my best version is and my best skills are in my mind. You know, I'm so hard in my mind, and I can do to fight in a lot of different styles. For me, a return to New York, it's another opportunity to show again, to show my skills, to show my real level in the first class. Puello is a great opponent, a great fighter. They stay undefeated, and that's an extra motivation for me. No, and I don't have all the time if I need to prepare the Teofimo Lopez fight, and now I have all the time. I have good senses, good vibe in all the training camp, and I'm so motivated. I'm so excited to be my best version on March 1st.
We'll turn things back over to you, Alberto. You know, you are facing a tough opponent. I just went over, you know, some of his fights, recent fights that he has had. What challenges does Sandor bring to the table?
Bueno, ¿qué es, Alberto, lo que más te preocupa o lo que ves las fortalezas que tiene Sandor y que te pueden llegar a complicar a vos dentro del cuadrilátero?
Bueno, en realidad no me preocupa nada, ya que yo me preparo para pelear con todo tipo de boxeadores y Sandor no es la excepción para yo estar preocupado, ya que me he enfrentado a distintos oponentes con estilos diferentes y he salido victorioso. No tengo ninguna preocupación más que prepararme bien y llegar 100% a la pelea.
I have no worries whatsoever besides preparing well for this fight and arriving healthy and well to March 1st, because I have faced a lot of different opponents, many different styles, and I know what I have in my arsenal. So what Sandor does or doesn't do really doesn't concern me one bit.
For you, Sandor, Puello's undefeated. Nobody's been able to figure him out. What makes March 1st, what will be different when you step in the ring with him to give him his first defeat?
I have the case to give the victory and return to my home as a champion. I'm the first man to defeat Puello on March 5th at Barclays Center. I have the skills to any moment in the fight. If it's necessary, a lot of people says maybe that's a boring fight for the styles of the fight. It's okay. That's not true. If I need to go to the front, I need to go to the war. I need to fight like a Mexican warrior. I put my heart in the ring, and I'm make all to do to make champion on March 1st. You know, I'm prepared to be a great show for the fans.
And before we turn it over to media, one more question for you, Alberto. You know, do you feel like for this fight, you need to make a statement against a very tough veteran fighter in Sandor Martin in order to propel yourself? You're already a world champion, but to propel yourself to get some of these mega fights, knowing there's a lot of big names at, you know, 135, 140 pounds, 147, you're kind of in that range where there are many big names, and you holding the highly coveted WBC belt. Do you have to make a statement against Sandor?
A ver, bueno, Alberto, contás con un cinturón muy, pero muy preciado en tu poder, que es el de la CMB, ¿no? Y también ya sos campeón mundial, o sea, no es como que tenés que demostrarle algo a alguien, pero también sabemos que querés esas megas peleas y que estás en el rango de entre las 135 y las 147 libras, donde hay nombres muy atractivos. ¿Sentís que además de ganar esta pelea también tenés que ganar con estilo para candidatearte a esas mega peleas?
Sí, claro que sí. Lo importante ahora mismo en este momento es prepararme y ganar la pelea. Claro, ganarla bien ganada, para así darme el respeto que muchos boxeadores no me han dado, ya que he demostrado y aún así no se habla mucho de mí, pero yo sé que el ganar esta pelea ya luego sí me van a tomar mucho más en cuenta.
You're absolutely right, Miguel. I have to win this fight, and I have to win it with a statement like really well won, because I feel like I don't have the respect that I deserve from the world of boxing for now yet. So winning this fight and making a statement will allow me to put the world of boxing on notice, and that I'm ready for the mega fights that you mentioned.
All right. Well, now we'll turn things over to Andrew and the media members to ask some questions. Once again, raise your hand virtually, and Andrew will try to get to you.
All right. Thanks very much, Miguel. Our first media questions for this pair of fighters are going to come from Matt Brown with Brunch Boxing. Matt, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Thank you for having me. This question is for Alberto Puello. Obviously, we know that you won your title by defeating Gary Russell. Some people say it was an upset, close fight. The WBC had originally reordered Russell to face the winner of you guys, but Russell obviously is going to be on that card fight for the WBA belt. Are you willing to unify with the winner of that Russell Valenzuela fight, like immediately after your fight with Sandor Martin, should you become victorious?
Si ganas contra Sandor el 1 de marzo, ¿estarías dispuesto a unificar contra el que gane de Valenzuela y Russell?
Claro que sí, ese sería mi próximo paso, unificar y tratar de limpiar la división. Y si esa es la pelea próxima con uno de ellos dos, me encantaría, con cualquiera.
I would love for that fight to happen. That would actually be the next step in my progression. I want to unify the division and then sweep the division. So with that goal in mind, bring it on if that's the case.
And then I had one question for Sandor. Now, Sandor, you've been on like the tough end of some like questionable decisions. What are you going to do to ensure that you come out on the winning end, whether it's a decision or are you going to go for the stoppage?
Sandor, ¿entendiste la pregunta? Básicamente es de que cómo te vas a asegurar para ganar, ya sea por nocaut o por puntos, considerando que posiblemente esta sea la pelea más exigente de tu carrera hasta ahora.
No, me voy a asegurar con el trabajo que estoy haciendo en el gimnasio, voy a poner todo mi conocimiento, todo mi corazón encima del cuadrilátero para salir con el brazo en alto. No me gusta hablar antes de las peleas, pero tengo claro que es la oportunidad de toda una vida y voy a aprovecharlo, no voy a dejarla escapar.
All I can tell you is that I don't like to talk too much before the fight because everything is out in the ring after all. But I do know that this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm going to put all of my heart and all of my mind and all of my will into it to come out on top, because there is no other choice. There is no other alternative. I have to come out on top, and that's what I'm going to do, no matter what.
All right, great. Thank you very much for those questions, Matt. And as a reminder to the media that are joining us, if you have any questions, please hit the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. Our next questions for this pair are going to come from James Bell with the Boxing Source. James, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
All right. My first question here is for Alberto. Now, we have seen you in fights here in the past against like Rashawn Owens, Barzan Akhmadov, and recently against Gary Antuanne Russell. But, you know, this particular atmosphere, you know, may be a little different as you're defending the WBC super lightweight title. Could you go into your like mental psyche going into this bout defending the WBC title?
Alberto, ¿cómo es tu mentalidad de cara a esta pelea defendiendo un título comparado con tus 3 peleas anteriores donde eras el cazador, no el cazado?
Bueno, es más de lo mismo, porque sabe que diariamente en el gimnasio hay distintos sparring, siempre hay que ser el cazador a veces y hay veces que ser el corredor o boxearlo. No tengo preocupación alguna, ya que, como te dije al principio, he enfrentado distintos boxeadores con diferentes estilos y estoy preparado para lo que sea. No tengo preocupación.
It's like I said in the beginning, I'm not worried at all because I am focusing on getting the fundamentals right in the gym, getting the foundation right for when I go out there to fight on March 1st. I'm aware that sometimes I'm going to have to be aggressive, sometimes I'm going to have to be more tactical. You know, sometimes you're the hunter, sometimes you're the hunted. But in the end, setting that foundation, it's what's going to have me ready to defend the title.
Got it. And my question for Sandor. given that you had the fights there against Mikey Garcia and Teofimo Lopez, this one is for the WBC title at super lightweight. Going to like how excited you are for fighting for a world championship for the first time.
¿Qué tan ilusionado?
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Well, I'm so excited for this opportunity. That's not a fight. It's a fight for the world title. You know, it's the opportunity of my life. I'm waiting for this opportunity when I was a kid, and I don't deserve. I will return to my home as a champion. It's my mentality now. I only have one desire in my mind. I put all the show in the ring of Barclays Center in New York and make a great fight for all the fans and for me especially.
All right. Excellent. Thank you for that. And thank you for those questions. James, our last questions for this pair of fighters is going to come from Jim Conlon with RCV Radio Sport in Ireland. Again, Jim, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Okay, just one question for each fighter. If I can start off with Alberto. Alberto, you've done everything that's been asked of you so far in your career, an unblemished sort of record so far. And maybe you got people talking about who is this guy after you beat Gary Antuanne Russell. This pay-per-view is going to have millions and millions of people watching it, obviously tuning in to see Tank versus Lamont. Does that give you another opportunity for the world to see Alberto Puello and to see your talents, to have more eyes get to familiarize themselves with the name Alberto Puello?
Bueno, Alberto, has subido los escalones de una manera excepcional en el boxeo, has ascendido en los rankings y ahora vas a estar frente a los ojos, ante la atenta mirada de millones de personas que van a sintonizar esta cartelera de Tank y Roach. Contame cómo sentís esta oportunidad de anunciarte ante el mundo y de que Alberto Puello llegó para quedarse.
Bueno, me siento muy bien y más que contento del sitio donde va a ser la pelea, ya que allí hay muchos dominicanos y voy a tener bastante apoyo. Me siento de lo más bien. De verdad que es un regalo que PBC y Dios en primer lugar me ha dado.
I'm thrilled because the fight's going to be in New York, where there's going to be a great Dominican crowd cheering me on, lots of Dominican people there. And I consider this a gift from both PBC and God to be able to place me there, to prove myself once again, and to give it my all, because that's all I can do in the end, give it my all.
Okay, and my final question then for Sandor Martin. Sandor, been in some real blockbuster fights, some epic fights throughout your career. But you think, as when we look at your career, that this is a pivotal moment, this is a world title opportunity, and obviously success is going to be a dream realized, but anything but success, it might be a long road and a long opportunity, and you might have to wait your time again if you don't have success. So is it all about seizing the opportunity, that the opportunity has been presenting itself in front of you now?
Sandor.
Sí, dime.
No, bueno, escuchaste la pregunta. Bueno, la pregunta es esta. Entonces, que sentís que esta pelea, si sentís que esta pelea no es solamente una oportunidad más, sino de que si perdés es como que tendrías que ir de vuelta al principio de la fila, ¿no? Y esperar de vuelta a que regrese la calecita. ¿Qué tipo de presión, qué tipo de preocupación te genera eso de saber, este es el momento y si no lo aprovecho, puede ser que quizás nunca vuelva a pasar?
No, I don't have any type of pressure in this fight, and I'm so confident in my victory, and that's a special one. It's obviously it's so important, the most important fight of my career, but it's only one fight more with the title fight. I need to do the same than I do on all my career to stay here. Started in Spain to arrive here is so difficult. It's no easy, and I don't have the pressure, but I have the responsibility to accomplish this mission.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thank you for all of those questions from the media. And thank you to both Alberto and Sandor for joining us today. With that, I'll turn it back over to Miguel Flores to wrap things up and get closing comments from this pair of fighters.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And once again, we want to thank you, Alberto, you, Sandor, for joining us here for our virtual presser. Closing comments. First, I'll start with you, Sandor. Closing comments as you gear up and move forward, getting set for the biggest opportunity of your career to become world champion and bring a world title back to Spain as we look forward to March 1st.
Thanks to everyone for support the event of March 1st. And I will do my best. I hope the same for Puello to bring a great show for the fans. I think if Puello have a mistake because I'm better than they think in his mind, you know, and I show him on the ring of Barclays Center on March 1st.
All right. And for you, Alberto, you heard what he had to say. He says that, you know, he is much better than what, you know, people think and what you and your team think, and that he is going to surprise people March 1st. Closing comments to what Sandor had to say.
Bueno, Sandor acaba de decir que, ojo, no lo subestimes, porque él está listo para este desafío, está listo para demostrar a la gente del Barclays Center y al mundo entero que también él llegó para quedarse y para obtener el título. ¿Qué le responderías a él? Y también tus comentarios para cerrar esta parte de la conferencia de prensa.
Bueno, de la única manera que respondería es que llámese escritores, yo también he estado en esta situación. La gana de ganar un título, ya sé que se siente, sé lo que él está sintiendo, pero yo me estoy preparando bien física y mentalmente para retener lo que tanto me ha costado recuperar y no pienso perderlo.
Sandor, I know how you feel. I know the butterflies that you must be feeling right now, wanting to be in the big stage in New York, wanting to earn that title that I already have. So all I can tell you is that I've been there, I've done that, I've prepared really well, and I'm ready to defend that title no matter what. You're not going to take it away from me.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We look forward to it. Sandor Martin, Alberto Puello. That will be on, once again, the loaded pay-per-view card March 1st from Barclays Center. The WBC Super Lightweight World title is going to be up for grabs on March 1st. Thank you, gentlemen.
Muchas gracias, Alberto. Muchas gracias, Sandor.
All right. And once again, we want to thank Martin Batar for translating as well. Much appreciated, Martin. As we now turn our attention over to our co-main event that will be happening on March 1st. The WBA Super Lightweight World Champion Jose Rayo Valenzuela will be taking on the hard-hitting top contender Gary Antuanne Russell in what is going to be sure to look to steal the show on March 1st. As we welcome in Jose Valenzuela as he is here, and as we get you set for March 1st, you know, what are you most looking forward to being the co-main event?
I'm just excited to be back, you know, coming off a big win. Just keep the momentum going. Give the fans a good show at the Barclays Center, you know, in New York. You know, I've been in New York a few times. You know, it's the Big Apple. So, you know, I'm just excited to be back and keep the ball rolling.
All right, Rayo. And then just for clarification, I don't believe we have Russell on the call.
Oh, no, I'm definitely.
Oh,
We
there
got
we go.
Gary.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go, Gary. Much appreciated. So you are 17-1 with 17 knockouts, fighting out of Capitol Heights, Maryland. You are from one of boxing's most prominent families. 2016 U.S. Olympian, knocked out your first 17 opponents. Came up short against the fighter we just saw in Alberto Puello, in which was a very entertaining fight. Now you got another opportunity to become a world champion. Opening comments on looking forward to taking on Jose Valenzuela March 1.
It kind of just blanked out a little bit, but I did hear some of the stuff that you said. I'm grateful to, like I said, be back before Alberto Puello. when I seen him, he had me grinding my teeth because I do want to see him again. Don't want to take this steam away from my up and coming opponent. Can't take nothing away from any of the participants that joins this sport. I never slack on anyone. They can say that this guy's trash. Doesn't mean I'm going to underestimate him. I'm, like I said before, fortunate to be back. Rayo, I'm pretty sure he got a game plan. Everybody does have a game plan. You know, sometimes it goes back to who is able to be flexible, show a level of adversity, because some game plans don't work and you got to switch on the fly. Hopefully that my opponent going to have that come night of the fight. You know, I got a chip on my shoulder, so I'm definitely coming to take the shine from the main event.
Much appreciated, Gary. And now we'll turn things back over to Rayo. Rayo, you're 14-2, 9 wins by knockout. You're the reigning WBA super lightweight champion out of Los Mochis, Sinaloa, Mexico. And you won the world title in an upset, upsetting Mexican star Isaac Cruz on your way to a decision victory. You know, how sweet was it to become a world champion and on top of that as the underdog?
You know, it was a dream come true. Pitbull is a great competitor. You know, he's a tough fighter. You know, I went in there, I stuck to the game plan, I stayed focused, you know, and I conquered the world title. And, you know, now I'm looking to defend against a tough competitor, and, you know, I'm going to do the same. Stylistically, it's a different fight, you know, and I like this fight better stylistically. Fighting a short fighter like Pitbull, you know, you fight on your toes. It's a little uncomfortable, but this fight, you know, I think it's going to be a little better, more action.
Over to you, Gary. You heard what he said. It's going to be more action. You know, what do you have to say about the style in Rayo and how you have this opportunity ahead of you to face a guy like Rayo and put your name in the hat now amongst the other elites of the division?
The way I see it, I got a shot at something that can catapult me to a great position. I already see myself as a fighter that is an elite. You know, yeah, I lost to Alberto Puello. I showed sportsmanship and I took it to the chin. You know, that's all you could do when you lose. When you got these battles, there's a winner, there's a loser, and it all determines on how you bounce back from that. You know, it defines a true champion. You know, I feel like the way I come back with this right dance partner, I feel like it's going to allow me to showcase a lot more things. You know, I was more so on the conservative side coming up fighting Pollo, because I felt as though that I didn't have to bring everything out of my arsenal. Why be flashy and do all of this extra stuff while you become victorious when you don't have to? Just bring out the tools that you need to use during the fight, dealing with a certain style, and you can be victorious still. You just don't have to do all of this flashy look. But I feel like having a chip on my shoulder, the right opponent in front of me, coming up in this next fight, March 1st, I feel like I do now want to dig in my bag and show some flashiness, show some different looks to the crowd, you know, the fans that haven't really seen a certain side of me. Everybody is used to me applying pressure and that's it, but I can do it all. I have yet to show y'all that, and I will show y'all.
Now over to you, Rayo. You know, you were the underdog going into that fight against Isaac Cruz. And, you know, many people were surprised when you won that fight and the way you won it and how you controlled the entirety of that fight. Um, do you feel like you will get overlooked by people, especially at 140 pounds, or do you feel like you get disrespected because, you know, people talk about, you know, the Haneys, the Ryan Garcias, the Tanks, the Tiafimos. You know, what is it about that, you know, now you're a world champion in this division with those guys, you know, people should be talking more about Rayo. What do you have to say to that?
Right. I don't know. I can't speak for them, but be a lot of many different reasons. You know, I'm a headache for anybody. You know, at the end of the day, I think, you know, stylistically, I match up nicely with everybody. You know, being, you know, 5'10", strong, fast. So, they're not gonna want to talk about me. They're gonna move. They're gonna look for bigger fights. Move up to 147 or whatever they're doing. But I'm not too worried about that. I got a tough competitor in front of me, and I'm fully focused on him and getting the job done.
Now back over to you, Gary. You obviously come from your acclaimed family. Your brother was a longtime champion. What advice has he given you? I know he's in the gym with you every day. What advice has he given you now, stepping into another difficult test against Rayo, world title on the line? You're looking to become a world champion for the first time in your career. What kind of advice have you gotten from him?
Simply say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Last fight with Puello, I kind of deviated for personal reasons. Some stuff behind the scene happened, but I don't really want to get into all of that. Like Rayo said, I'm focused on my opponent right now. I showcase my skills, become victorious, and it was a question asked to Alberto Puello, would he be willing to unify immediately back with me? I love that question because my whole objective is to get the title, to immediately unify. I told people a long time ago, I want to wipe out my division 140. Then I'm willing to bounce down to 135 or 147. It doesn't matter. I want to give the boxing industry, the boxing world, their due. I want to give them that entertainment that they deserve. We are all year round sport. And I feel like me and the rest of the Russell family that participate in this sport are a staple to this sport.
I believe we might have lost Gary for a second. Gary, you with us?
I'm still here. What all did you catch?
We heard most of it. You just cut off towards the end there. That about your family being a staple and fight fans. They want to see your family, in big fights.
And it's not just my family. Just big fights that are entertaining in general.
Yep.
I don't like some of the champions that are champions right now have certain craftiness about them that would give the crowd the ooh and ah, certain style. Now, granted, they win. That's how you got the title. But I don't feel like they got a style that is fan friendly. I want to give that fan friendly entertainment. I'm not saying rock'em sock'em robots, but still action packed.
Absolutely. And this matchup, stylistically seems like it is going to be action packed. I've seen Rayo in, all out wars. I've seen you in wars. And, that's what fans are looking forward to as a co-main event. So Rayo, I want to go to you, real quick before we turn things over to the media. You've seen, Russell throughout his career. You've been on the opposite end. You guys have both been, gearing up towards the same thing. You are now able to become a world champion. What have you seen from Russell that, going into this fight, you have as far as skills and, mental game and the mental side that maybe he doesn't?
I think you worded it wrong. I'm a world champion already, so. But yeah, I think he's a good fighter, but it's nothing I've never seen before. Comes forward, double jab, left hand, high guard. I think he's solid, but I bring way more. I think I'm more crafty. And we just gonna have to wait and see March 1st.
All right. Well, now we'll turn things over to the media as they gear up for some questions. So, Andrew, once again, take it over. Raise your hands if you have a question, and Andrew will try to get to you.
All right. Thanks very much, Miguel. Our first media questions for our co-main event are going to come from Ron Goodall with FightHype. Ron, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Awesome. Appreciate it. I got a couple questions for both. Gary, first question to you. I know that you spoke a little bit earlier about some of the things that you wish that you could have did and changed in that last fight. But going into the fight with Rayo, do you feel that, Rayo brings a style that's more difficult or a style that benefits you more? In other words, a tougher fight or a more beneficial fight?
To answer that, I want to say No one fights the same. Like I said before, with some of the things that define a true champion and professional, you have to have a sense of adversity. You got to be flexible. You know, versatility is one of the main key factors that a fighter has to have. You know, Rayo, he's shorter. I feel like he's more craftier than Puello. So he's gonna force me to use a little different type of movements that I had to use with Alberto Puello. Alberto Puello, he's a taller, longer fighter. He tries his best to stay on the outside and he keeps his opponent there. You know, he's not an inside banger or brawler. So with that type of fighter, I have to use different type of tools and things and become victorious in a different form of fashion. Rayo, I feel like he isn't a style that will be more suitable for me, but I do believe that he has a style that will make the fight more entertaining versus me chasing a person around the ring like a chicken.
So my second question to you before I get to Rayo is, you spoke a little bit that you would like to unify if you get the victory. Is it ultimately, if it was presented to you, would it be to unify with Puello, or if there was an offer to maybe fight some of your peers like Duran or the Rayo or Rolly, some of the guys with big names, would that interest you a little bit more, or the rematch is more interesting?
Definitely the rematch is more interesting because I feel like that's a personal thing. That's something that's personal to me right there. I got to get that back. I don't care if I become undisputed. After I become undisputed, if he's still participating in this sport, I will call him out.
Awesome. And Rayo, I want to switch to you. Appreciate you, Gary, for answering the questions. I spoke with Pitbull, and I wouldn't agree with his take, but he said he didn't take the rematch because he felt that the fight with you would be considered a little boring. Obviously, I know fight fans differ from that. Would you say that fighting Gary in this case is better? Do you like this fight? Would you say this is a better and tougher competition than after fighting Pitbull?
Yeah, I like it better stylistically, fighting a guy like Pitbull, I'll get the job done, but it's uncomfortable. It's hard for me to get leverage too when I'm on my toes. And, stylistically, I like where Gary stands with his height and just everything about this fight, it's gonna open more shots up for me. So, I'm excited.
Awesome. And my last question is, you spoke a little bit about it earlier, but it seems like you do get a little disrespected. And I know that you can't get down to 135, but if it was presented for you to maybe fight Ryan and Rolly or even like T.O., who you sparred, or guys up there, would you take that or are you staying at 140 for a while?
Yeah, I would take a fight with Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah.
Or Ryan or those guys. I know I can compete with them, like you said, I've been in there with him, so it'd be a great show, great exciting fight for the fans, and but first thing is first, I got to give my opponent his respect, and March 1st, I'm fully focused on him.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much for those questions, Ron. Our next questions are going to come from Chris Moreno with Boxing and Barbecue. Chris, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Thank you, Andrew. So 2 questions for Rayo. Rayo, you talked about your last big win. We've seen fighters lose focus after big fights. So after your impressive victory over the esteemed Pitbull Cruz, how do you stay focused and motivated for this next big challenge?
I was more motivated, and I went right back to the gym. I did take a little vacation, but I was in the gym. Went right back to correcting some of the flaws I was doing and just getting better. It brought me more excitement, more fun. Now I got something to defend, so it just brought more fuel to me. And once you get a taste of it, I don't want to let this go. So more motivation to keep winning.
Thanks for sharing. Last question. So given, you are training under Robert Garcia, 2024 Trainer of the Year, how does his expertise and presence in your corner influence your confidence and performance in the ring?
Well, it gives me a lot of confidence. He's been at this level before. He's brought many champions here, and he's been himself, a champion. So he knows what it takes. his advice, I can relate to it very well. And I think because he has such good experience, so everything he tells me, I take it with me and it works. So, but yeah.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much for those questions, Chris. Our next questions are going to come from Carlos Palomo with Carlito Fight Talk. Carlos, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
Yes, man. Carlito Fight Talk here. El Rayo. I've been watching you for a long time, and it's always an honor to talk to you. So break down, how do you feel about, working with RGBA and then working with Team Benavides all in 5 years?
Well, it's a new experience. I like it a lot. I'm getting better. I believe since I made the change, there's been drastic, change in my level in my fights. So, I'm excited just to keep progressing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what can we all expect, March 1st under the lights?
It's gonna be a hell of a fight. Gary comes to fight. I come to fight. But stylistically, it's a great fight. That's why I took this fight. These kind of fights excite me. So yeah, it's gonna be action packed.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for those questions, Carlos. We have time for just one more here. Our last media questions are going to come from James Bell with the Boxing Source. James, please unmute yourself and you can ask your questions.
All right, thanks again, Andrew. First question here is for Jose Valenzuela. This is, coming from adversity. Know that you had, the fights against Edwin De Los Santos, and then the first fight there against Chris Colbert, and then you turned around and I felt like had your best performance in the rematch against Chris Colbert, and then after that followed it up with the win against Isaac Cruz to win the world title. Coming off of those two victories, what is it for you to have those performances leading into this bout against Gary Antuanne Russell, and as you mentioned, working with Robert Garcia?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
How is your psyche going off of those two wins while working with Robert Garcia, and how it's prepared you for these fights of this magnitude?
I feel good. I'm extremely focused. After coming off those tough two losses, I took my career basically into my own hands and started doing things my way, and picked up Robert on the way, my coach Mario Rodriguez, who's with me. And we just made a great team, and I feel like right now, this time in my life, and I just feel unstoppable. I'm fully focused. I'm matured, and I'm excited to keep growing and getting better as a fighter.
Gotcha. And a question for Gary Antuanne. This is coming off of your last fight against Alberto Puello. How are you approaching this particular fight, given that it is an opportunity to become a world champion? And as you mentioned there, kind of show, the different skills that you have in this particular fight in comparison to the last one that you had against Puello.
I'm definitely preparing. We in the gym and we working our tails off. Not everybody gets these type of opportunities back to back. If you're a top contender, then yeah, you done climbed the mountaintops to get this opportunity. I feel like dealing with this particular fight, I'm going in it with a chip on my shoulder because of my loss with Alberto Puello. And every fight, of course, I want to prove something to the fans and etc. to myself. But I feel like this fight, I gotta do more. I don't want to just be mediocre. I don't want to just be looked at as someone that's been doing the sport for so long. No, I really need to, make a statement. All fighters should have that mentality, but that's where my head is at right now. I'm appreciative that I have the dance partner that I got in front of me, because you got some people that do step aside and say, oh, no, I don't want to fight this. I don't want to take that fight. I don't want to take this fight, so shout out to him for being big on a courage and courageous side. This sport isn't for everybody. You know, so like I said, I want to get the fans something that they are paying for, their money's worth. Class A, high speed talent showcased. That's what I want to give, entertainment.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Gary. Thank you to James for those questions and to all the media that joined us today for your questions and your time. Thank you to both Gary Antuanne and Jose for joining us and to all the fighters. With that, I'll turn things back over to Miguel Flores to wrap things up.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. Rayo, Gary, we want to thank you both for taking time out to kick things off here on our virtual presser as we, get towards March 1st. Closing comments, Gary, March 1st, you against Rayo, looking to steal the show. How does it all go down?
It got to be a winner and it got to be a loser. But I guarantee you, I'm not doubling up on no L's. The first one wasn't an L for real, for real. It was a lesson. You know, you got to crack a few eggs and make an omelet. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's not about how you fall down, you know what they say, is how you get back up. That type of thing. Me personally, I'm ready for March 1st.
All right. Thanks so much, Gary. Now over to you, Rayo. You're the champ at 140 pounds. How does it go down and how do you retain against Gary Russell?
You guys are gonna have to tune in March 1st, It's gonna be action-packed fireworks. It's gonna be a clash. He's coming to fight, I'm coming to fight. Tune in, pay-per-view, March 1st.
There for a sec. But we want to thank you both for joining us. This is a fight. I'm telling you, it's going to be fireworks. I've seen both guys fight for many years. They're always entertaining styles. And now for them to be both in the same ring, it's going down on Barclays Center March 1st. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you, gentlemen. I want to thank all our fighters and media members for joining us here on our virtual presser. Once again, March 1st, it's Tank against Roach. As we got a loaded pay-per-view card come our way, Premier Boxing Champions on Amazon Prime Video, and it all begins 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on March 1st. You do want to be there. Tickets are still available at Ticketmaster.com. And once again, it is all sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. So thank you, gentlemen. We look forward to seeing you fight week for March 1st.